Shalom everybody, we are continuing our limud of Sefer Yeshayahu. We are up to Perek Chof, and we are in a section of the book that is right around the time when Sancheiriv is exiling the 10 tribes, and a few years later there will be the siege of Yerushalayim, where Chizkiyahu himself is in danger of losing Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash, and what happens, of course, is the great miracle in which the 185,000 soldiers of Sancheiriv die miraculously the night of Pesach. So Yeshayahu's Nevuah is before that point, but there's a great deal of talk about both the destruction of the 10 tribes and the siege of Yerushalayim and the Hatzalah under the reign of Chizkiyahu. So here, in Perek Chaf, we are actually given a date for a Nevuah, but in order to understand the date, there needs to be a lot of background. Pasuk Aleph of Perek Chaf reads, Bishnas bo tartan Ashdoda bishloach oso Sargon melech Ashur vayilochem biashdod v'yilkedah. This prophecy, the following prophecy, was given to Yeshayahu the year that Tartan came to Ashdoda, sent by Sargon, the king of Ashur, and Tartan had fought against Ashdod, and he had captured it. So, who are all of these people that are mentioned in this pasuk? So we know from the book of Malachim and the book of Divrei Hayamim, which give us the historical details in greater detail, Tartan is simply an Assyrian general. Sargon is described as the king of Ashur, but Chazal say Sargon is just another name for Sancheiriv. Sancheiriv is the more familiar designation, so we will call him Sancheiriv. Now, here is what happened. After Sancheiriv exiled the 10 tribes, several years later, it was not right away, he then turned his face towards the south, towards Malchus Yehuda. That would be kind of the crown jewel in which he would capture Yerushalayim and be machriv the Beis HaMikdash. Chazal even say that could have been the war of Gog and Magog. And Sancheiriv, indeed, after he exiled the 10 tribes, actually decimated a lot of Malchus Yehuda. All there was that little walled city of Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. But at some point, Sancheiriv had to call off his army because there was a revolt in Ashdod. Now Ashdod, although it's a city in Eretz Yisrael, Ashdod at the time was not occupied by Jews. It was occupied by non-Jews. And as a result, Tartan, by order of Sargon, by order of Sancheiriv, diverted his troops away from Yerushalayim. So this is after the 10 tribes were exiled. He diverted his troops away from Yerushalayim, and he went to quash a rebellion in Ashdod. So basically what that means is that Chizkiyahu got a little bit of a respite. And Ba'esahi, and at that time, Diber Hashem biyad Yeshayahu ben Amoz Lemor, Hashem conveyed a nevuah through the Navi Yeshayahu ben Amoz, Leich upitachta hasak meyal masnecha, v'nalcha tachalotz meyal raglecha, vayas kain haloch aram v'yochef. Hashem says, go, I'm going to translate this literally first, go and open the sackcloth from your loins. So the pashtus would mean take off your sackcloth, implying he was wearing it. Remove your shoes. And Yeshayahu did that, and he went naked and barefoot. So, first of all, if we learn, take off your sackcloth, why was he wearing sackcloth? So the Metzudas David says, Yeshayahu had been wearing sackcloth in mourning and avelos ever since the 10 tribes were exiled from Shomron. Now Hashem is going to tell him to have a new mourning, We'll see why. A new hischadshus. Take your mourning, your avelus, one step further by taking off the sackcloth and being naked. So again, the Mefarshim say that doesn't mean mamish naked, but it means wearing rags that are even worse than the sackcloth, and even take off your shoes. So according to that interpretation, pitachta hasak means take off the sackcloth and be semi-naked in ripped-up garments. Rashi learns a different pshat. Rashi says pitachta here does not mean take off, it actually means put on, and he's told, now put on the sackcloth and take off your shoes. And when it says arom, naked, it does not mean naked, it means naked of regular clothing. He was wearing sackcloth. Be it as it may, Hashem is commanding Yeshayahu to intensify his mourning. Now for what? So the next pasuk gives us the answer. Vayomer Hashem, kasher halach avdi Yeshayahu arom v'yochev shalosh shanim. So God is actually commanding Yeshayahu to be naked, which according to Rashi means wearing sackcloth. According to the Metzudas, it means wearing rags. Yochef is barefoot for 3 years. Os umofes al Mitzrayim v'al Kush. So this is very, very interesting. Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, the great empire. Kush, which is also an empire in Africa, generally identified with Ethiopia. Chizkiyahu at various times was depending on Mitzrayim and Kush to protect him against Ashur. And one of the main themes of the Nevi'im, particularly Yeshayahu, is do not put your trust in these corrupt, idolatrous, immoral nations. Do not put your trust in mankind at all. Trust only in God. And therefore, symbolically, Yeshayahu is mourning the fact that Ashur, in 3 years' time, will defeat and destroy Mitzrayim and Cush. So Chizkiyahu will realize, this is before the Mapala of Yerushalayim. In other words, before Sancheriv comes back to Yerushalayim, he will destroy Mitzrayim and Cush. So Chizkiyahu will then know he must put his bitachon in Hashem. So therefore, this is actually 3 years before the great miraculous redemption of Mitzrayim, and Yeshayahu is prophesying and acting out through the nakedness and the barefoot, the mapala of Mitzrayim and Cush. And therefore, just as my servant Yeshayahu has been naked and barefoot for 3 years, I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it will be for 3 years. Kain yinag melech Ashur eshavi Mitzrayim. So will Sancheriv, the king of Ashur, take the captives of Egypt, v'esgolos Cush, and take the exiles of Ethiopia, Na'arim uzakenim, young and old, Arom v'yochef, they too will be naked and barefoot, v'chasufei sheis ervas Mitzrayim, and the nakedness of Mitzrayim will be exposed. This is both literal and figuratively, their tuma and their weakness will be revealed. V'chatu v'vaishu mikush mabatam umin Mitzrayim tifartam. And as a result of the fall of Mitzrayim, the Jewish people in Malchus Yehuda will be broken, and they will be ashamed that they looked to Cush for their salvation, and they looked to Mitzrayim for their glory. The Aimar Yeshayahu hazeh b'yomahu. And when Mitzrayim and Cush are defeated and destroyed by Sancheriv, the inhabitants of this island, so it's very fascinating. This is referring to the inhabitants of Yerushalayim. Now, Yerushalayim, last time I checked, is not an island that is surrounded by water. It is not an E in any geographical sense. But it is an isolated enclave because everything around Yerushalayim has been destroyed and decimated by Sancheriv, the 10 tribes, even Malchus Yehud outside of Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim is analogized in a metaphor as an island. So what will this walled island say? Hine, ko mabatanu asher nasnu sham liyezra linazar v'meimelech Ashur. Behold, look what happened to those nations that we looked at to run to get help from the king of Ashur. V'eich nimoleit anachnu. Now that they have fallen, how will we escape? So this is, the prophecy ends here, so it's an incomplete idea, but the idea that Yeshayahu is conveying is, right now, Chizkiyahu and Malchus Yehuda thinks that they have protection in Cush and Mitzrayim. But they will see they have no protection. There's no human being that can help them. There is no political entity that can protect them. And initially that's going to give them fear, and that's going to give them panic. But it will bring them to emunah and bitachon in the one source that will help them, and that indeed is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And indeed, 3 years from this point, Mitzrayim and Cush are going to fall. Sancheriv then comes to Yerushalayim, and it looks like there's no chance at all that Klal Yisrael will be Nitzal. Because after all, Mitzrayim and Cush were the people they were looking to, and they were defeated. And as the saying goes, Yeshuas Hashem keharafayin. The salvation of God can come in the blink of an eye. And this will be the miracle of Yerushalayim being saved. So this nevuah was 3 years before that miracle. So that is the end of Perek Chaf.